Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our salon style Wow Talks. My name is Becky Metcalfe, and on behalf of Design Centre Chelsea Harbour, a very, very warm welcome. Well, these special Wow Talks have been devised to coincide with the opening of Wow House. And I hope already you've been inside and seen the marvels. Honestly, it is room after room of wonder. First, a little bit of housekeeping. If I could ask you just to turn your phones off because we're recording the session, that would
That's
be
a good
really
idea.
kind.
Yes.
Really kind. Thank you.
Did you do it?
And we are so lucky to have Paolo Moschino and Philip Vergalen here today. Philip has actually hot-footed it from Italy, seriously. So there's a packed schedule, but they are here. And who better to speak to them than, of course, Carol Annett, interiors editor at Country and Townhouse. I think we should give them a huge round of applause.
Thank you. Well, it's lovely to be here, and it's always a pleasure to chat to you too. So thank you very much. So we'll kick off. And there they are, the handsome duo.
But we look better in real.
Obviously.
Good, thank you.
So we thought we would just start. This is just to give you an idea of what Philip and Paolo do. This is part of their, and they do gardens as well. A little shot of a garden before we get on to the Wow House. So that was just as a little introduction to how they work together, and now the Wow House. So tell us how you first got involved and when you first heard about the Wow House concept.
You start or shall I? No, you. We had a conversation here with Chelsea Harbour a few months ago, almost a year ago, and the conversation was about using the space in the middle of the Chelsea Harbour, which I think is fantastic. And sometimes, when I see it empty, I always think, what a waste, we should do something, And here they're so well organized that I thought I would give some ideas. And one of the ideas, actually, I wanted to do an antique fair or something. And then Claire German came back to me and she said, actually, we are going to do a Wow House, which is a show house. It's going to be the first show house in the design center. And we would like you to be part of it. So we jumped at the idea immediately. And so we started thinking, what kind of room are we going to do? And there is a program on television that I often watch, is MasterChef. And when I watch MasterChef and I see these people coming in and say, this is the first time I made this recipe, I always think, but these people are crazy. So I think we should do something where we know we can do it very well. So that's why I thought, this white room is very us. We've done white rooms with paneling many times, and it reflects our style. So, which is we always a classic with a twist. And then Philip came out with lots of new ideas, like the ceiling, for instance, which I think is great. No?
My objective was, and the challenge with Paolo is, this is not a showroom. We're not designing a showroom, because if you let Paolo do it, there would be 200 pieces of furniture in there.
I know,
with price tags.
More and more.
So I said, let's treat it as an interior design project. It's just a room. Then, so that was the start point. Now, as an interior designer, for me, the biggest challenge is to understand the personality of my client. That's my one objective. Everything goes around that. Once that is in the bag, once I understand what they want from a house or how they want to live and what they like, what they don't, everything else becomes like a domino. The pieces fall down. Here there was no client.
But we are the client.
Yeah. But we've done something that is quite traditional, quite our look. We added some hints of humor. Paolo and I are big fans of a French artist called Jean Cocteau. He's a line artist, and the portrait above the fireplace is Jean Cocteau. But he did a house in the south of France called Villa Santa Sospir, and he painted all the walls. In fact, he tattooed all the walls. And I thought, why we might not put a tattoo on our ceiling. So it's a simple drawing that I actually did with crayon, and then I must commit, somebody with a more steady hand than myself went over with black paint.
But
it's a sort of the forgotten wall.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's not invasive, but it's sort of a hint of humor.
Yeah. Has everyone here been in to see the room? Yeah, I mean it's just genius, that ceiling, isn't it? It's that little touch, it's that little bit of quirkiness.
Yeah.
And otherwise, like you say, it's the
and the fire,
wall.
we painted all the flames. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to have a little bit of humor in there.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant.
Apart from that, as I think it's noticeable, we wanted something very edited, very calm, very linear. There's no plushness. It's very curated. That's what we wanted it to be.
Should we talk a little bit about the layout, because you've combined a lot of different periods of furniture here?
It's really what I like the most is the combination of a 19th century screen from Japan, 18th century temple flowers from Japan with the 1950s Italian chairs, totally contemporary consoles. And it just shows, and then there is a 19th century English bookcase that's not in this picture, but it just shows if you buy good pieces, they all work together. Then you can, a good basket will look beautiful on an 18th century French commode if it's of good quality. So I don't like to match things. I don't buy things to match, but nevertheless, we like to create harmony. But we do it in a hopefully a little bit more subtle way than.
But also, even for jobs, we never buy things to please the client. We buy things because we like them.
Yeah.
And also, when we go out shopping, we don't go and say, calling the client immediately and say, do you think you would like that sofa? No, if we like it, we buy it. Yeah. And then if the client really hates it, we are lucky that we have shops, so we can put it in the shop and resell it. Yeah. But normally, we never buy just for that reason. No. We buy because we like it. Yeah.
But presumably, the thing that you're so clever with is that when you buy the sofa, but when you put it in the context of what you're doing, then there's kind of like, okay, aha, I might not like it in isolation, but when you see what you've done with it and
that's
where you've put
it. Every time we do a job, we always say to the client, we are not going to install the project until we have everything in one go. Yeah. Because it's proved 100%, and now it's 30 years I've done this, that if you deliver one piece at a time, they will all get rejected. Yeah. Because the clients, that's the reason why they come to us, interior designer, because we are like the view of putting the things together. So if the client only sees the sofa, they're going to say, it's too big, it's too small, it's too big. But they don't think there's going to be two side tables, there will be a table behind, there will be lamps, So it's nice to see all in one go. But it's a challenge because people are impatient and they say, please deliver the lamp, please deliver the table,
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about the white tables you've got at the back. I don't know what you call them.
They're little bookcases, I guess, but you can use them behind the sofa. Or it's a new design that we came up with. It's very simple, but somehow it works, And
so you can have 2 or 3 or whatever.
Or 1 or 2 or 3, and you can have them any color you want. You can have them different finishes, and
I think the proportions make it work because the lines are very simple, but
they
have good proportions.
Yeah, no, lovely.
Those are such nice chairs. They're Paolo Buffa, 1950s. And this is a very typical of Paolo Buffa, this cross in mahogany and light wood. But especially this chair, I've never seen it before with this shape, this funny shape. And the back is shaped in a different way from the standard one.
And where did you find those?
We bought them in Paris, yeah. But again, we bought them because we like them. Yeah. So if nobody wants to buy them, we keep them. We're happy to keep them,
And so you go off on your searching trips. Is that where you found the table?
No, the table is part of Paolo's collection. We have a
Why do you say
collaboration.
Paolo's collection? Because you don't like it. Because that's what he normally does. It's our collection.
Okay.
No, it's
It's,
sorry.
it's the result of a collaboration that we have with San Patrignano, which is a huge community in the north of Italy. It's a rehab community and very successful. There's about 3,000 people there. And the philosophy of the rehab is that they take in people that are addicted to, could be whatever, gambling,
Mainly drugs
drugs,
addiction,
whatever.
or alcohol.
But they give them a new life by teaching them skills. And so it's a huge community there. They make wine, which is quite controversial considering the
I know, yeah, that's what we
they
thought the
make
first time we got.
Well, they don't need to drink it. They
No.
can-
No,
they
but
can
but
still,
make
they
it.
you know,
make
the temptation
textiles.
is very
Yeah.
close.
They make textiles, they make
Yeah.
wallpapers. I mean, our first collaboration was a wallpaper collection that we made with them. And now we're doing furniture with them. They're all based on the designs of Renzo Mongiardino, who was one of the great Italian designers of the 20th century. And when he died, he left his entire archive to this community, to this
Oh,
charity.
wonderful.
So when I went there first, and there was this old pile of things in a corner, and I said, "And what is that? What's that? Oh, those,
It is so
all
old.
the
You know,
old
those
drawings."
papers are so
I
old.
couldn't believe it. Was like unbelievable. I mean, you know, for days I went through the drawings. So slowly, every year, the collection grows of what we can do. And what I like is their enthusiasm. They never say no.
Yeah.
So,
Wonderful,
yeah.
wonderful. I wanted to talk a little bit about the textures and the pattern. So, is it? I mean, you've got the wonderful Japanese screen print on the wall with the sort of Oriental feel, and then you've put your leopard skin rug underneath. With the is that kind of something
not
very
on
that come
purpose.
very naturally?
No, it wasn't. I mean, I like animal print.
Yeah.
Our book is in animal print. So that is something that I've always
It's like
liked.
your signature,
Yes,
maybe.
there are, very often you will see animal print. And the fact that there is a tiger on the Japanese screen is really a coincidence. It was, again, it's something we bought in a gallery. We fell in love. It's quite big, but it's quite strange that in a room that is entirely white, this giant piece of work of art doesn't unbalance it because it's so soft. If you would have, some explosion of color on one side, then you would have to balance it on the other side. But this, despite the scale, doesn't overwhelm you.
Did you have a starting point for the room?
Yes, but we didn't end up anything like the
No,
starting
but we
point.
started with
Yeah.
the paneling. The paneling for sure.
The
white
paneling
paneling.
is classic
that
for
was.
us, and
Yeah.
sort of the color combination. For me, one of the most timeless and most beautiful apartments in the world was Bill Blass' apartment in New York, and it's entirely white paneled, mahogany floors, and mahogany furniture, and
yeah.
that's it.
Yeah.
It must have been, somebody very good in self-control, because literally there is nothing but those two things.
Yeah.
So it started with that. That was the idea.
And then I arrived and I put all those junk pieces.
But then, no, it's
No,
a
but-
21st version of it. I
Yeah.
didn't want to copy it. It was just, that was the idea of the color combination.
No,
White
but he's
walls,
always been a
brown
great
floor.
inspiration for us. Yeah.
Well,
We
it's
just
very,
like that style.
it's very elegant.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. Okay. So here we need to talk about these incredible temple flowers. What's the story
Yeah.
here?
They're actually offering, that 19th century offering that in Japan, when you go to a temple, you carve them. People used to carve them individually one by one, and then they go to the temple and they offer them. So, and they're not easy to find, especially in quite a large amount. So we put them together, a few in during the last few years, and then we saw a big bunch in Paris
It took me
again.
literally 15 years to put
Yeah.
them together. because I discovered, I can be honest, 15 years ago, we went to a party. It was at Valentino's home. I'd never seen this, and I immediately thought, oh my God, this is beautiful. And then he told me where he bought them. And then the following day, I went with his friend, Marina, to the shop. And we very gaily put a whole bouquet of flowers together, and I could see, and she loved it, and I loved it. And then we got the prize, and we left them all behind. I couldn't even afford one. And so we were lucky. But it literally, I swear, took 15 years.
But
And
when
it's,
we see one, we buy. You know.
Yeah.
yeah, and it's old. Some are 18th century, some are 19th century, but it actually works really well in contemporary interiors. They're almost like contemporary sculptures.
But a lot of the pieces in the Wow house in our room, they come from home, so they're our personal belongings, and they will go back home. So those are not for sale like those. They're coming back home.
Yeah.
And we want to give this feel that is our room. You know, when you walk in, you feel it's home. Like Philip said, not a showroom.
Yeah.
Plus, I think I knew that the whole Wow house was going to be fantastic. And it is actually. When you look around, the quality is superb. Every single room is beautiful. Every single design is fantastic. But we were not sponsored by a fabric house. We done it organically. It's our own room. So we were not there to show all the fabrics like the other rooms are. So that's why I thought the white room, you know, with our things, our private things, was showing us.
Not all private things, but anyway.
But quite a lot is
but I
private,
think
yes.
in the beginning I was a little bit nervous because what I think is fantastic about the Wow House, it shows the diversity of inspiration. I mean, every room is so different, and it's
But
fantastic.
all equally
that people,
beautiful.
Yeah.
Every
Paolo,
single one.
yes.
Yeah.
But we stick out like a sore thumb. I mean, you go from one rich room to another rich room, and then you come in our room and you go like,
Yeah.
But
it's
also
calm. But it was on purpose. It was our purpose for it to be calm.
And you know, right at the beginning, when they introduced us to the Wow House, one thing I didn't like was the name. I thought, oh, wow, why do you call it Wow House, you know? But now I understand, because from the day one, when we started installing, you see people coming from one room to another, and I actually have pictures to prove it, and they go, wow. Wow. So it's
That's
such
a
a
really
wonderful
clever
name.
name. Yeah,
Clever,
it's a clever
very
name.
clever.
yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
wonderful. So,
More
what did-
temple flowers.
but did you know that there was going to be a Japanese sort of Oriental theme?
No, absolutely not.
That's
It
just
just
the way-
happened to be that. I mean, the Cocteau I knew, because that's something
Yeah, that
we've
we
been
planned
collecting
to-
for a long time,
Yeah.
and was the inspiration for the ceiling. We just happened to have that screen, and thought it looked beautiful there. But it's typical of, if you look at most of our rooms, as I said before, there's an Italian desk, there's an English bookcase, there's a Japanese screen, Italian armchairs, a French artist, Jean Cocteau, a Belgian artist, and it all sort of mixes together, and that's what I like.
And you've put your touch of red.
Yes, I honestly believe that every room should have a touch of red. Doesn't need to be big, but there's two lacquered planters are a beautiful Japanese red lacquered, and I think it's, you know, even if you know, you don't, it's not an object, or I'm not saying the sofa should be red, but get a red book and then throw it on the table. Just it gives energy to a room, I find.
And Paolo, what about the lampshades that you've chosen? I mean, this one's obviously very simple. Is that
This
a
one is a very
parchment?
simple, is a card lampshades, but they're all different. We use linen lampshades, we use raffia lampshades. I like to use different lampshades in the same room, you know, not all the same, because otherwise it looks like a shop. You know, we're going back to the same thing.
Yeah, beautiful.
See, like this is all metal. The lamp is metal base with a metal shade. And it gives layers, you know, it's giving layers to the room.
Tell me about the desk.
It's Italian, 1950s, of a very unusual shape. And it shows you how daring people were in the 50s. And it's sort of something that probably 10, 15 years ago I would not have liked. And it's because the 50s were sort of the forgotten period for me at least. And but now I'm really much more keen on that, and see how adventurous designers were, and then especially in Italy, I must say.
But if you look at it, it's such a simple design, just very straight lines, but he works very well today, and he works opposite an 19th century English bookcase. Somehow they talk to each other. I wonder what they say, but they talk to each other.
And the lamp that you've put on top of there.
That's one of ours, yeah. It's a newish design, which is all in brass. It's quite nice. It's a sculpture lamp, you know. It's solid and it's very masculine, but it works. I mean, this room is not that masculine, but the lamps works with it, I think. I don't know what you think. Does it work or not?
No. And you see the leopard print on our book.
Yeah, that's our book.
Yeah.
And you know those pencils, actually, I went down today. They've almost all gone. People like to take them. Yeah.
Well, I do the same when I go to...
Exactly, so do I, yeah. If you could just
I
replenish
got you
them,
two,
please.
both of you. Pencil stealer, yeah.
And I particularly love the stool that you've put here.
Thank you. That's part of a new collection. It's a whole collection of 4 bamboo in brass. I always like bamboo. Bamboo. You see in our collection is everywhere. We have bamboo in our fabric collection. There is bamboo in our furniture collection. And this one it's years that I've been looking to do 4 bamboo in brass, but it first of all was too expensive. Secondly was, you know, you had to make it in Indonesia, whatever. But finally we found a manufacturer, and so we have now about 6 or 7 pieces which we produce, and hopefully we're going to make more and more. But this collection has proved to be incredibly successful immediately. Literally the first pieces were all sold straight away, and the price level is very good, which is important. I think you need to think about when you produce also the price level. You know, you can't be crazy, because otherwise you're stuck with them for the rest of your life. Yeah.
Oh, I'm also interested in that you put a desk in the room. Is it? Do you think a desk is something?
We like to put desks everywhere. If you come to our house in the country, we have desks everywhere, because we like to, especially Philip, you know, he's always reading or writing. So sometimes he gets an idea and he writes all these notes, you know, everywhere. So when you go to the desk, it's full of these notes, but not desks with an S. So every desk you go to, you find all these little notes. Yeah.
It is. It's sort of a moment of contemplation, a kind of, really, isn't it? It's. I love the idea, and the way that you've kind of put it behind the sofa.
Exactly, that's what I like about
it.
Yeah. It's in this context, especially because of the layout, it makes it more interesting than just a sofa table, because you know it's something useful, not just something to fill the back of a sofa.
So you may have had a console or something. So instead of a console, you use a desk instead.
Exactly. So you know, a sofa table, you know, typical sofa table.
Yeah, no, I think it's a really lovely, really.
But like in the country, we have behind the sofa, we have a desk, which at the beginning was just a desk. Then we started having drinks and put a few bottles. Now it's full of bottles. So now we have another desk opposite the other we use.
No, it's very pretty.
This is all the bamboo.
Of the collection.
This is a very nice little screen, which you have it in mirror or clear glass. But remember in the office, people will say, but why would you want a screen with clear glass? What's the point? The screen is to screen. But no, actually, I like to be able to see through, you know. Like the other day, we went to see a possible new job, which is on the Embankment. And it's one of these huge, fantastic apartments, but huge. And the first thing I said, we need to put screens, you know, we need to define some spaces.
The drawing room is 67 meters long.
Otherwise, it's like the airport lounge, you know, it's this huge. But you need to define the space, and then you start building up.
But also, you you want to create areas where you're on your own, or maybe you want to have a quiet area, but you don't necessarily want to feel that you're alone. So you can still engage with what's happening in the rest of the room. Yeah, no, I think that's really lovely. And then the one at the top, the little bedside
That's
table.
a nice table, yeah, because you can use it for bedside table. It's an old, actually, French design where you used to have a shelf for a lamp, and then the bottom shelf for books and for your creams or whatever you use at night. But so the lamp is separate from the rest. Yeah. So we did it again in this brass faux bamboo.
And are they incredibly heavy, the chairs?
No, they're not. Actually, you can move them. That was actually another challenge because some of these brass things, you can't move them. We did. You remember that chair for Stad? Oh. It's beautiful. When I saw it the other day on site, it was beautiful, but you can't move it. It's solid. I mean,
and that's a desk chair.
Yeah. No.
You see the two cubes of the Mongiardino collection.
Those, yeah.
What I love here is the way that you have piped the cushions. It's such a clever, simple technique.
There are actually 3 different fabrics.
Are they?
Yeah, there are 3 different shades of white. This one is a 100% linen, just a plain linen. This one is a small herringbone. But then we put the piping, very small piping to define them. But when you see them in the picture, it looks like it's all one. But they're all, the room actually, the whole room is different shades of white. If you look at it, they're all this beige and white. And
the idea of the piping again was to be very simple and clean. So nothing frilly, nothing. So everything was quite. We tried to keep it simple.
And what was your biggest challenge then? Was that in trying to maintain
agree
the
with
simplicity?
each other. That was always the biggest challenge. But at the end, we always do, no? Or maybe I think we do. No?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
And is that something that you would always do, to introduce different nuances of white in a room like that, so that it's not one-dimensional? You've got the kind of play.
Oh yes, absolutely. Yeah. No, that's important. That's important.
Yeah, it's the layers again. We're going back to that, So lots of different shades of white. But this is a room that I could have done 30 years ago. Actually, if you look at some of my old things, you find rooms like this, very similar. So it's a room which is timeless, I believe. It's just, it's like a white canvas, and then if you don't like the paintings, change the paintings, put your own paintings. But the actual canvas, you can't go wrong with this. I think it's classic and.
And what about the style of the sofa? Is that very much your kind of signature, with the loose cushions on top?
Definitely. We always have loose cushions, scattered cushions. Philip always laughs with me about all the pillows. And then we have lots of clients actually now that they come regularly to buy pillows. So we call them the pillow ladies. They come and buy lots of, But pillows for us is such a good business. We sell so many, it's crazy. We actually have some clients that they buy pillows for the summer, pillows for winter, they change them. And I encourage them by doing that, because on a sofa, if it's a beautiful sofa, you want to keep it forever. If the sofa is good, why changing it? You change a couple of cushions and it brings the sofa to life.
So in view of that, would you have loose covers on it?
Yes.
You do? You always do a loose cover?
Yeah. No, not always, but it depends on the style.
The style of the shape and the material.
Also where you are, what's the mood of the room. It really, there's so many.
But linen is nice loose cover, because also you can wash it if it's white.
Yeah.
Obviously, if it's velvet, you don't do a loose cover.
No.
Yeah.
And do you have I'm not sure what you call it, the skirt, but it goes all the way down to the floor.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't like legs.
Okay.
On a sofa. Personally, that's one
quite
of my
a statement.
things. Yes, I don't like leggy sofas. So there's either a skirt or a bullion fringe or something. And then armchairs have legs, but I think if the armchairs have legs, the coffee table have legs, there's like too many legs.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's true. It can be
Yeah.
very leggy.
Yeah.
You know, you see those
So
rooms, and then you see all the dust underneath.
I
you know.
cannot. Yeah. So most of our sofas have a skirt or a bullion fringe or something.
Yeah. I suppose it's like a sort of finishing off as well. It's you know, it's kind of beautiful. So tell me about René Boivin. Why does he get pride of place?
It's one of our, it's a book from home
It's a
again.
book from home.
But that one is actually has a funny story because was his birthday about 2 or 3 years ago again. But we don't give each other presents anymore because now after so many years, you know, what's the point? Yeah. But but I said, but he always says to me, oh, you have to buy me something. So I said, what do you want? He said a book. I said, okay, I'll buy a book, you know, a book. Yeah. So what book do you want? And he gave me this title. My God, I went to see it on everywhere. It's the most expensive book I've ever bought. I mean, I could have bought a car, honestly. And it doesn't drive, it doesn't do anything, it's just sitting there. But it's a beautiful book, yeah. It's a beautiful book.
For those who are not familiar
It's
with
out
him,
of print.
I believe
yeah.
René Boivin is really somebody that has invented jewelry design of the 20th century. You can go to any brand,
And
whether
you
it's
see it
Cartier,
there,
Van
it's
Cleef,
true,
Bulgari,
yeah.
go to that book. It
You see the
all comes from
inspiration,
René
yeah.
Boivin. There's maybe a little bit of funkiness from Verdura, but you know,
I can
everything
hire the
comes from
book
Boivin.
out if anybody wants it. It's £10 an hour.
What I love also the fact that you haven't just sort of picked a book with a pretty cover. You've put something in there that's very important to
meaning,
you.
yes,
It has a meaning to you.
yeah.
Yeah. And the little lamp on the left, I love. You just because you easily just move it if you're sitting there with a magazine or a book or something. Is that always important to have something, an opportunity for a light, so if you're sitting there to read?
Yes, our rooms are always full of books. We both believe that a house without books is like a house without a soul. You need to have books everywhere. We have books everywhere under the bed. We're full of books under the sofas everywhere. But and reading lamps, I think, are very important. And soft light, low lighting. We hardly use chandeliers, or certainly we never use downlights unless if you need them for cleaning. And these lamps, I think they're quite nice because they're all directional, and you can, like this lamp, for instance, you change the lampshades, you put a very plain linen lampshades, or it becomes much more contemporary. Here we put it a pleated one with this cage in brass, which I thought works very well with the room. But by changing the lampshade, you change the lamp.
Yeah, lovely.
This is another new lamp.
That's a new lamp.
Which was a nightmare to make. A
It
nightmare,
looks
this
so
lamp.
simple, but this is the 18th version of that lamp.
Why was it so difficult,
Because
Philip?
I don't know. The proportions were wrong. The texture was wrong. The neck was too small. I wanted it fat.
And that patina, when you look at it close.
It's a mixture of ceramic, resin, and plaster. And finally, after 18 versions, that took honestly about a year to make the lamp, and it looked so simple. But now I'm happy.
What color is it?
This is black.
Yeah.
But now that we have the shape and the texture, I want it in pigeon blood red and other colors as well. Yeah. I think it's a very smart lamp.
And why was it that sort of size-wise? What were you looking for particularly? Did you have it in your mind that you wanted it as a table lamp?
Yes. No, it actually started as something I designed for a hotel in Milan that we're doing, and they made it very quickly, and it didn't look anything like what I designed.
No, because it was ceramic, it was very clean, shiny,
and looked cheap. And so it became my challenge to show them that what they did was wrong. It took me a year to prove it. But I didn't give up. So now we can, and The good thing is that it was only the sample room that got the wrong ones, so the hotel will have these ones.
Okay.
That's good.
If they can afford them, we don't know.
And that little vignette with the flowers and the little vase, just beautiful.
They're all, objects from home. That one is actually a little ice bucket. It's an owl that you open it up
Yeah?
and it's an ice bucket. Yeah.
Sweet.
And then we have these books, the one on top is a book about Tangier. Tangier is a place where we spend our summers every year, so we go there. So everything has a meaning for us. So it's our room. It's our wow. Yeah.
And do you always add a throw for the back of the sofa? Is
It's
that
nice.
kind of,
Always.
yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, because
We don't
I'm
need it
always
today.
hot,
It's so hot
and my
here.
girlfriends are always cold.
Yeah.
And especially in
Yeah.
the country, I walk around in a t-shirt and shorts. My knees is covered in seven blankets, and the
Yeah.
fire is on. I don't understand. Our metabolism must be different, so I make sure there's blankets everywhere.
And by the way, that one is also made by San Patrignano, this community
But
in
it's
Italy.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, they do textile,
Yeah.
and weaving
It's
textile.
literally
which is
hand
beautiful.
woven
Yeah.
with the.
Wow.
Yeah.
Gorgeous.
Well,
So
this-
let's talk about this, the sculpture, the Barakan.
By the way, congratulations to whoever's taken these pictures. I think
Yeah.
they're fabulous.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Chelsea Harbour has done again a very good job.
Yeah. It shows two things. One is my love for Cocteau, so there's a Jean Cocteau plate, and then there's this sculpture from an artist called Berrocal. He was very fashionable in Belgium and France in the 1970s. And what he creates in bronze and brass is always puzzles. So this piece is about 100. It consists of 100 pieces. I must confess, I've never dared to open it because I'm convinced I will never be able to put it back together. He has easier pieces than these to play with as puzzles, but it's based on the concept of a puzzle. Yeah.
And the art behind it, tell me about that.
It's a Belgian artist called Jean-Marc Louis, and he does abstract,
Contemporary,
yeah, and he does abstract paintings. What I again by coincidence, because we hung that there. There's the Japanese tiger on the other side, and all of a sudden, you feel there's something Oriental.
Yeah.
This is Belgium. This is Belgian abstract art. But because of the black and white and because of what's opposite it, these pieces of art, I guess, influence each other.
Is that one of your pieces as well? Is that from
No,
home?
No,
the art?
No.
You chose it for the room.
We chose it for
Yeah,
the room. Yeah,
it's
yeah,
stunning,
yeah.
really stunning. And what about the lamp, Paolo?
The lamp is a new design. It's called Elsa. Was inspired by, so again, 1950s, and it's made out of plaster. It's a plaster and resin mix, which makes it stronger. And I just thought it was a nice shape, it's very organic and it works with our collection. And here you see we use a raffia shade, which, normally you would think raffia, you use it in a seaside house, but no, why not?
No.
I like to use raffia in town, or like I use bamboo chairs in drawing rooms in London. I think they're beautiful.
And
Mixing.
and it has a sort of matte finish. Is that
No,
right?
it's lined, it's like a matte gold.
The lamp.
Yeah.
The lamp has got a matte finish,
Yeah.
yes.
Really beautiful. The kind of, I think it's the textures, the sort of chalkiness against the wood, against the sculpture. You've got that real play of light in that little area. It's so lovely.
But we have been talking about this room for quite a while now, but without the support of Chelsea Harbour, this would not have been possible. So I would like, before I forget, to thank Chelsea Harbour for the huge support, and also our team, because I feel like this conversation is all about how good we are, but we are not that good. Actually, we have a fantastic team behind us, because without all our team, none of this would have been possible.
Yeah.
Like our construction company, which we've been using now for 25 years, it's always the same people. But we talk to each other, we know each other. Sometimes actually we don't even need to talk to each other anymore, because we know how things
I
how
mean, this
what we
was
like,
all,
and
this was done in 3 days.
exactly, this is a room
From
that normally would
nothing
take 6 months to
to
do.
what you
Yeah.
see there was 3 days. So you need to have somebody, and somebody like Valentina there that really is like, and she can push any builder faster than anybody.
I call it il generale in Italian. You said the general, because they do that, yeah, yeah. But that's how we achieve things, by doing that. Yeah. So
Anyway,
Yeah. No, I mean, I think
Thanks.
everyone will agree that
Yeah.
the whole project is an extraordinary achievement.
but not just our project, I like to make clear, because the whole Wow House is a wow.
Yeah. Every
Yeah,
single room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It surprised. I mean, it surprised me when I was looking at from the first day when they starting building, and every room is beautiful, and the quality is exceptional. Exceptional. You never feel
everybody
like
made an effort.
exactly.
That's for sure.
You
and that
walk
shows.
through and you feel like you are in
Yeah.
a house.
Yeah.
It's not like a fair or a display.
no.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, very clever.
So we are not the only good ones. There's a lot of goodies. Yeah. This is a beautiful thing.
Yeah,
You talk about this one. Yeah.
This is a, I don't know if you're familiar with this, it's called the Gogot. It's about 30 million years old. It's a natural stone formation that exists only in one place in the world, in Fontainebleau, outside about an hour from Paris. I adore them. I find they look like contemporary modern sculptures that make me think of Jean Arp or these sort of beautiful shapes. But no, nobody touched it. This is nature's work. I discovered them together with a client about 2 years or 3 years ago. Sotheby's did a Gogot sale. I had never heard of what a Gogot was. And there were about 20 pieces in the sale, very modestly estimated. So with great enthusiasm, my client and I went there. Well, we left without anything because everything went like 20 times the price. So I was incredibly lucky to find this in France by somebody that I don't think he knew. I've ever heard of the Sotheby's sale in London. But I like it as an object. I think it's incredible to have something that's 30 million years old and looks so beautiful. So.
And I think also juxtaposed against the artwork that you
Yes.
have behind it,
Yeah.
it's very clever.
Exactly. And again, it both white, but a different white and a
Yeah.
different texture. This is a French young girl, an artist that we discovered only when 4 or 5 months ago. We went to the show and we bought everything.
Did you?
Yeah, we bought everything.
Wow.
And now I can't remember the name. Can you believe that? I was thinking. Was it?
It's called Ben quelque chose. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, I bet she was absolutely
yeah,
cock-a-hoop.
yeah.
Oh,
But
wonderful.
very young, but I like her work. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, there we've come to the end of the images. So I wanted to just ask you about any particular challenges other than having to do it all in 3 days. Were there difficulties in, or were you pretty set with the whole concept? Did you sort of fiddle around a bit once you'd?
I think Philip and I, we knew exactly what it was going to look like because we had it completely done in our head. We knew exactly. But the main challenge was building the whole thing in 3 days.
Yeah.
I felt like Annika Rice. Do you remember that program on television? Yeah, that everything was done in half an hour. And we were running like Annika Rice, up and down, up and down. Philip, for the first time, became an electrician. I'd never seen him on top of a stair, ladder and doing the electric. So that was a big challenge. But the challenge was not just for us. I could see other people doing exactly the same. So, at the end, and also at the end, we achieved exactly what we wanted. Yeah. So we were, I think
like
we were
Paolo
happy.
says, I was never nervous.
No.
Because in my mind,
We
I
knew.
could see the room.
We knew.
Yeah.
If I cannot see the room, and I'm not talking about just this one or any other room, but if I can't visualize the room, I know there's something wrong with it. I know there's something wrong with it. And so things must change. Yeah. And here I knew I saw it.
But also not having a client to put in there.
Yes, that
to
is
Halfpenny
the
worth.
thing. Because what because I didn't have a client, very often, and I'm not talking about conflict, but different perspective can lead to interesting things. Like I had a client who had a yellow plastic chair. I mean, it was vinyl that she had from her mother. And I thought, of course, considering what we were spending on her drawing room, and this was never going to work. Well, I promise you, she insisted, it's on the drawing room. It's what makes the drawing room.
Yeah.
It's that thing that really makes everything stand, sort of breaks everything. The perfection, perfection in interior
remember,
design is never right.
Years ago, we went to see a friend's decorator's house that was just finished. So he was very proud to show us the house, but the clients have already moved in. So we went to have a look. And you could feel that these people felt like they were not in their own house because they didn't know where to sit.
Awful.
They didn't know where to. So when
They
we
didn't
left,
dare to sit on the sofa.
we said to each other, "Did you see that? This is what we never want to do. Make sure that we would never do that."
Yeah.
And that was many years ago. Do you
But it
remember?
was beautiful, eh?
Beautiful.
But
It was
had nothing to do with
spectacular.
the client.
Everything was beautiful. But this poor lady, she was walking around. She said, "Do I sit here or shall I move? Shall I go there?" And she was so uncomfortable in her own house. So we said, never, 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 never.
I think that's
And
a
if you
really,
make little
really
mistakes,
interesting
doesn't
point.
matter.
Yeah.
Makes it more real.
Yeah.
I think makes the room more real. Plus, another thing which is very important is you can't finish a job ever in one go. It takes time. Because, you need to find, the right thing. And sometimes if you don't have a lamp for 6 months, you can live without, It's not a big deal. Use candles, And then we will find the wonderful lamp, which makes the room.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure. Well, I think it's been absolutely fascinating to hear all about it. And the fact that, you can just go downstairs and experience this wonderful room within the whole Wow House.
Thank you.
It's
But it was nice
fantastic.
talking to you about
Oh,
it.
good.
Yeah.
Thank you for
very
having us.
much.
And thank you to everybody for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
I sort of feel that the session today was called Meet the Designers, and really, we really have been
Where are they?
privileged to hear from two masters. I mean, honestly, you say you never buy to please the client. You
No.
buy because you like them. But goodness me, what an eye. What an eye. Temple flowers, Japanese temple screens, 30 million-year-old Gogots, Jean Cocteau plates, all meticulously edited and put together with just incredible flair and incredible style. It looks effortless, but it's not, is it? Because these Philip and Paolo really, really do care about design. But it's also a bit of fun, I think, with you two around. Please give Carol and Philip and Paolo a very, very big thank you.
Thank you.